Bogenli from Lund University Lithium Lab. The paper I will review is Delphi-based future scenario of bibliometric analysis of climate change case studies. First, this is the bibliographic information for the paper. This study conducts a systemic literature review on Delphi-based future scenario in the context of climate change by combining multiple correspondence analysis and systemic network analysis. The contents are the same as the structure of the paper. The development and application of future scenario is a multidisciplinary approach used to create possible hypotheses on the long-term future to constitute effective planning. In the framework of scenario planning, different participative methods are adopted. One among many is the Delphi, a popular and empirical approach in the scientific literature useful for the development of future scenario in uncertainty situations. In general, the Delphi method is developed according to a systemic and organized approach of question and feedback involving experts and their judgment. Certainly, the Earth is facing different threats, such as environmental degradation, urban pollution, rising temperature, heat wave, and storm, where anticipating the future become essential. So this paper aims to provide a systemic overview of the Delphi-based future scenario application in scientific research for climate change adaptation and mitigation strategies. Next is the theoretical framework. First is the Delphi method. The Delphi method is a process of knowledge that allows structuring the communication of a group of privileged witnesses in order to coagulate subjective judgment regarding the reality forecast of events and decision making. It can be the ideal method for cases without predictive means of confirmation and for identifying break or innovations in the specific field of knowledge. When conducting the Delphi method involves too few experts, many may lead to insufficiently valid or representative judgment. On the other hand, inviting too many experts can result in a low response rate, which may reduce the significance of the findings. Second is future scenario development. Scenario planning is an important part of strategic planning for understanding the tool and technologies for managing future uncertainties. Its main purpose is to represent a hypothetical future through the observation of certain influence factors. The scenario planning process is as follows. Generally, the 6 phases of the scenario planning process are not always followed chronologically, and many scholars, after the framing, might omit the scanning and forecasting phase and proceed into a visioning phase. Next is the Delphi-based scenarios. Delphi-based scenarios refer to the development of various future scenarios through Delphi rounds. They are particularly useful for scenario planning, as the Delphi method is well suited for identifying and evaluating key variables and trends. In recent years, several authors proposed different case studies, generally adopting the following approaches. Next is the method and data gathering phase. First is the bibliographic data. This paper adopts a bibliometric analysis in order to understand the production of scientific case studies related to climate change, Delphi-based scenarios. This paper began by searching for paper using the keyword scenario planning, future scenario, and climate change, and narrowing down the result to those specifically including Delphi and Delphi-based. Then, using the bibliometric package, this paper analyzed key elements such as co-citation relationship, document linkage, collaboration network, and keyword associations. Since this study focused on case studies, the number of papers is relatively small. However, it still provides a systemic overview of the case study landscape in this field. Second is the multiple correspondence analysis and document scanning. This paper applies a multiple correspondence analysis. It is a stochastic technique used to visually represent the relationship among nominal variables. It maps keywords in a two-dimensional space, placing semantically similar words closer together, and based on this, hierarchical clustering is performed to group papers with similar topic. In addition, a semantic network analysis is conducted by examining the co-occurrence of terms in the abstract, helping to uncover the underlying connection among key concepts. Based on this analytical result, each case study is examined in detail to understand how the Delphi method was specifically applied. In the distribution among the different documents, the closest were identified based on their distance. Next is the result of the bibliometric analysis. First, annual research activity. The paper discussing scenario planning in the climate change context are 5.027 with 943 case studies demonstrating a strong interest in the development of future scenario in the climate change context. However, only 49 adopt the Delphi in one or more paths, leading to several insights. This study first analyzed the key information on annual scientific production as shown in Figure 1, and then examined the annual number of citations in Figure 2. Figure 1 shows that the trend over time is not homogeneous and appears to fluctuate. However, it also indicates a continuous increase in annual growth rate. This analysis helps us understand how many contributions have been cited in subsequent scientific literature. The result confirms that the annual productivity in this field follows a scenario of increasing fluctuation over time. Second is the country activity. The most productive countries were the United Kingdom, South Korea, Finland, Spain, and Japan. And to better understand the connection between leading countries or their partner nation, collaboration analysis was conducted. Third is the vectorial analysis and semantic flow. The aim of this paragraph is to cluster the major themes of the document in order to provide a general and immediate perspective of the study's framework. To achieve this, the study applies vectorial analysis and a co-occurrence network. To depict the conceptual structure map, the abstract provided by the assets are used and the results are represented on the two-dimensional plane of multiple correspondence analysis. As shown is Figure 4, important clusters are derived through hierarchical cluster and can be identified by their color. The co-occurrence network is based on the abstract shown is Figure 5 and highlight the link and relationship between keywords. As shown in Figure 5, the central node Delphi is connected to different keywords including decision management model and purge. Also, the node climate is related to different environmental themes including the energy and impact, the word sustainability, and the risk and vulnerability. Next is the discussion. In this section, this study focused on the Delphi-based process administration proposing a review of the stage of this study case with a particular interest in the methodology and approach used. First, the Delphi method is highly flexible and can be applied in both the early stage of scenario planning, such as identifying projection, and in later stage like designing process policies. Second, most studies conduct two Delphi rounds to reach consensus, but some extend to a third round when deeper refinement or policy formulation is needed. Third, since experts are central to the Delphi process, many studies have explored how to select panelists from academia, practice, and even the general public, and how to assess their expertise. Fourth, understanding the time horizon is essential in scenario planning, and many studies have proposed methods for how to set this period appropriately. Lastly, the Delphi process combines both qualitative and quantitative technique, including mean and median value, pause logic, AHP, and clustering method to interpret expert response and build scenarios. Next is the guideline for climate scenario research project. This study defined 6 phases for the construction of a Delphi-based scenario. Then it proposed how the Delphi method can be applied or integrated at each stage of the scenario planning process. The details are as follows. Next is the conclusion. This study made several contributions. Delphi-based scenario studies in the context of climate change were systematically reviewed, and application methods across different phases of scenario planning were also organized. Moreover, key design elements such as expert selection, time horizon, and analytical technique were closely examined. However, the study also has a few limitations. First, it didn't address the social impact of climate change, such as how it may affect citizens or how to prevent such effects. Also, although expert response rate remains a persistent challenge in participatory methods like Delphi. And finally, many studies didn't clearly explain how the time horizon was selected, which is a critical element in future scenario design.